Hey everyone, the name is Erik Thor, and in today's video, have you ever found yourself wondering about what other people think about you? Worrying that maybe you're weird, or that you don't fit in, or that there's something wrong with you? Do you find yourself scrutinizing every little thing about you, how you talk, what you do, how much you earn, or how successful you are, or how popular you are? And do you feel like you're done with it? You're sick of it. You don't really want to do that anymore. You want to stop and you want to learn to live life your own way. Well, in this video, let's talk about the courage to be disliked. The courage to be disliked is the core tenet of Adler's psychology of individualism. And Adler was a psychological giant living side by side with Freud and Jung. He is most likely the third most influential psychologist in the world today. Now, his ideology, his psychology was considered to be somewhat controversial, but it overlapped a lot with Carl Jung's quest for individuation. And when you think about it, while his views sound extreme, in practice, they're actually quite human. Now, as a kid, I really wanted to impress people. I wanted to impress people by doing something amazing or incredible. I wanted to, stand out from the norm. I wanted to be the best student, get the best grades. I wanted to graduate school the fastest. I wanted to, really impress other people. And so I pushed a lot of pressure on myself. I wanted to be perfect. And that happened to escalate even more when I became a teenager and I started getting politically active. In politics, I put the world's burdens on my shoulders, feeling I had to save the world. I had to fix it. I had to change everything and make everything better. And I don't know if that's something you can relate to, but in itself, I feel I was putting on a mask of perfectionism, right, on myself. And I noticed the bad influence that perfectionism had on my self-esteem and my confidence, because I was absolutely berating myself. You suck, you're terrible, you do that so badly, your speech there was so boring, you could have said that so much better, you could have been so much more engaging, you could have been much more persuasive. If you had only said that, things would have worked out a lot better, right? And I was polishing myself out to be a diamond. Well, in this video, I want to talk about the shift that I had, because these days, I don't really feel that way about myself anymore. These days, I see myself as rather a tree or a plant that needs nourishment, support, and encouragement, and I work to be my best cheerleader. Now, I think, well, to describe Adler's psychology of individualism, let's just start with the basic phrase, the courage to be imperfect. Truth is, when you study personality psychology, you realize that there are so many different ways to be human. You can be extroverted or introverted, intuitive or sensory, optimist or pessimist. There are so many different personality traits and dimensions you can look at and study a person from. And many people find themselves feeling, if only I was more extroverted, if only I was more intuitive, or if only I was more practical about things, but I'm not. And here, there is first of all what Carol Dweck would call the fixed mindset, the idea that you are something and you can't be something else. Well, of course you can be. And I think that's important to remember. You do have a choice. Yes, small, consistent, everyday effort adds up. And over time, you can learn to be anything you want. But beyond that, what Adler would say, why do you want to be something else? Ultimately, everything you do, every choice you make has its trade-offs. If you learn to be more extroverted, you're going to have to learn to live with the fact that you'll be a little bit less self-aware. And you'll make more mistakes, because extroverts learn through trial and error. If you learn to be more practical, yes, that's going to be great, and it's good to have some base set of grit and discipline. But it might also mean that you have less creativity, because a sensing type tends to stick with a task and keep working at it until they master it. An intuitive tends to think about other ways to do things, the path unchosen, and another way forward, right? And so ultimately there are trade-offs to everything, and here you're just picking out your own pros and cons, and ultimately this won't change the fact that you'll be a flawed human being, and flaws really are just another word for differences. With differences, what we're thinking about here is just the fact that, we're not all going to be perfect. None of us is going to be God. None of us is going to be the all-powerful person that is going to do everything perfectly in every single situation. So we're going to be forced to be human. And this choice to be human, I think, is the choice to look at yourself as, ultimately an animal or a plant or a force of life with its own shape and contours. And when you recognize that, okay, I have my own flaws and my limits, that means, well, I will need other people in my life, right? So a lot of people criticize Adler's ideas of individualism from saying that, well, individualism is a lonely choice. By choosing to be yourself, you're alienating yourself from your community. And here's like the core idea of Adler is, you should choose to listen to yourself. You should choose to honor your own values and ethics. You should choose to take into account your own thoughts about a situation. And you should care a little bit less about what other people think. And of course, other people will say, well, you do need to care about what other people think. You do need to consider their opinion. If somebody tells you you should change something about yourself or do something differently, you need to be able to listen to that. Well, of course, what he says is, well, if everyone learned to live their own lives, if everyone learned to be authentic to ourselves, social relationships would be so much easier. Because instead of sitting trying to guess what the other person wants and the other person trying to guess what we want, we can all be upfront about what we want. And then together we can work together to support each other's individual dreams and projects, right? So it's often said that in certain cultures you have this approach where it's like you kind of look to other people, right? And I think this is actually a global phenomenon. We like to look to and study and compare ourselves to others. How successful am I compared to this person? How good am I at drawing art compared to this artist? How good am I at music compared to this musician? And we often compare ourselves to people we inspire ourselves by and look up to, right? And here, of course, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by looking at other people and saying, hey, that's amazing, I want to play like that. And I want to, be able to do that. That's great. But what every single successful person will say is, I didn't succeed by emulating other people, by trying to sound like them. Of course, I had people that influenced me, that inspired me, but ultimately, I found my own inner voice. And that's, I think, key to success. Individualism is the key to success and to connection with other people, because when you know who you are, you attract other people into your life that are like you and that want to get to know somebody like you. And here, it's also about thinking about what it is that we offer. We all feel that we would love to have more friends or to find a partner or to, have deeper relationships with our existing friends, like we all have the social needs, right? This need to connect with other people. But ultimately, we don't really want to do so by impressing other people, by doing and being the way they want us to be, right? We could choose to, well, if only I was, more like this, my partner might notice me more, or my friends might find me more funny, or my coworkers would admire me more, or trust me more, or my boss would listen to me more and give me that promotion, right? Like we have these thoughts in our heads, but ultimately, when you think about it, these thoughts often are the things that keep us from being successful in the first place, because the desire to please other people, the desire to impress other people becomes also what really limits you from really succeeding in being yourself. Constantly moving and shifting yourself and fixing yourself and rearranging yourself means often that you end up like a jumbled mess. A really haphazard selection of different slices of pie and cake put together in a really weird way, right? Imagine you were cooking a meal and you asked everyone in the world for ingredients and advice on how to cook this thing, and you took everyone's advice seriously. Well, you'd end up with a very, very mixed pot, and probably that soup would not taste very nice, because one person would say add salt, the other person would say add sugar, add fruit, add potatoes, add rice, and cook it for 10 minutes, no 5 minutes, al dente, no, soft, right? Like everyone has their own opinions about what it is that they want. And that's also, I think, what really messes us up so bad, just looking at it and going like, well, this person wants me to be like this, and that other person tells me to be like that. One person says I should be more assertive, one person says I should be more humble, and what should I do? It leads to this kind of constant confusion and self-esteem issue where it's like you're never really perfect. And when you think about it, there's this idea from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He's this legendary psychologist who came up with the concept of flow, and flow is something you'll hear a lot about in my videos, right? It's that to tap into flow, you have to tap into your own intrinsic motivation, because external motivation is a fickle servant. External motivation comes and goes. Sometimes your boss is happy with you, and other times your boss won't notice you. Sometimes your coworkers will be, impressed by you. Sometimes they won't. They'll be too focused on their own things. And sometimes some people succeed and others succeed. And, it goes up and down. And here, do you want to live the rest of your days until you die, constantly jumping up and down in self-esteem, because one day you're great and other people like you, and other days people don't notice you, and other days people really notice you, and because that's a roller coaster, right? And here's the thing, you have no control over that. You have no choice on whether other people like or approve of you or not. The only thing you have a choice of is, do I approve of myself? When I go to bed tonight, can I look myself in the mirror and say, I did my best? I gave my best effort. I had a rough day, I woke up tired, I didn't have a lot of energy, but I still got to work, and I still, I was kind of annoyed during the day, but, I still did my best to give a positive impression and to be nice to the customers, to do something good for others, can you really look at yourself and say these things? And can you really look at yourself as a person worthy of love and support, right? Because ultimately, yeah, you're going to fail, you're going to mess up, you're going to do bad things. And here, you're going to have to be your own best cheerleader. You're going to have to really think, oh, why did that happen? What went wrong? Why did I say that? I got upset. Why did I get upset? And I was, just trying to say this, but why did I end up doing that? And why did this happen, right? Being able to think about these things, and to look at and analyze yourself as a human being, a person that is flawed and will make mistakes and will not always be perfect and won't always be able to handle everything on their own, right? In this sense, you're thinking, okay, how can I support myself? What do I need to make myself feel better? Okay, what can I do to prevent myself from getting angry in this situation in the future? What can I do to better manage my emotions? What can I do in order to make sure that I'm more well-rested when I wake up in the morning? What can I do, to make sure that I have more inspiration or energy if I feel like I'm kind of unhappy about things, right? These kind of thoughts, these kind of things help you be your own leader. And I think to be an individualist, to be your own person, you have to be your own leader, you have to be your own boss, you have to feel like you're making your own decisions about life. And so I ask you, what choices do you want to make today? What things do you want to do today? What kind of a person do you want to be today? And ultimately, what is your moral compass? What things do you judge your own actions and efforts by? And how do you follow your own inner compass? How do you make sure you hold yourself accountable? Those questions and more are those I hope to answer in future videos. Thank you so much to all my subscribers. Thanks to the Patreons. And if you want to join my community, check out patreon.com/Erik Thor. See you all in the next video, and have a great day.